Clemens. Carolyn, for many years, was in the county attorney's office, handled almost all of the DN cases, defendant neglect cases, did that for the years. And probably has more experience than any attorney in the state in administrative matters. And then starting something over a year ago?
Year and a half ago.
Year and a half ago, moved over to become the attorney that's appointed for the kids in the cases. And is handling most of the kids that are coming through the system now. And Carolyn was also a CASA first, and still is on record as a CASA, although we've got a little conflict going, and she won't be able to take further cases as a CASA. But she's going to talk with us about the role the attorney plays with the child, and with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to you, but I'd like everybody to introduce themselves, because you probably all will have an association with Carolyn as you get into cases. So Julie, do you want to start over too?
Julie. I can see that. Julie Ward.
Charlene Lawrence. Carol Kitson. Margaret Diepershow.
Linda Armijo. Kiana Masood.
Katie Lawler.
Alan Stricker.
Susan Gallagher.
Cindy Holmes.
Nice to meet you all. This says Brianna.
Oh.
Brianna.
That is not Brianna.
Okay.
I am not.
Well, I was going to start by kind of telling you what my background is, because it sort of gives me all sorts of different perspectives to come at these cases, I guess. Bill's correct. I was at the county attorney's office for 28 years, and I did the dependent neglect cases, probably 95% of them, for 25 years. So I've seen a lot and been around a lot. And then when I retired 2 years ago, I decided to do CASA. So I came through Bill's training and got a case, and that sort of gave me a whole new perspective on things. It was quite fascinating, because in the county attorney's office, I made it a point to find out as much as I could about the cases and about the children, but I also didn't meet the children. I didn't want to get emotionally involved with any of the kids. I just didn't want to get any attachments to them, because I kind of needed to maintain my perspective as being the attorney for the Department of Family Services, and handling things that way. But when I switched to being a CASA, first of all, I got to meet my little girl, who was the cutest thing in the world, and I still go to see her in Butte. She was about 6 months old when I met her, and she's going on 3 now. And I also kind of had this impression at the county attorney's office that most of the parents that we were dealing with in these cases were just kind of low lifes, they shouldn't be parents, you know, they weren't the greatest things around. And then I met the mother of this little girl in my CASA case, who happened to be in the county jail when I first met her. And I went up to the jail to see her, and I liked her right off the bat. And she and I got to be pretty good friends, actually. And she spent, probably 6 months in jail in Townsend into the case, and I went down to see her, at least once a month, maybe more often than that. We wrote back and forth to each other, and I was just shocked at how much I liked her, and what a great person I thought she was, despite the fact that she was in jail. She had a drug problem, and unfortunately she's still involved in treatment, and she's given up parental rights to her daughter, which really made me sad, but it had to happen under the circumstances. She just wasn't available to take care of this little girl. But I found that I, as the CASA, worked really, really hard to try to help that mom to be in a position to get that child back. I really wanted her to stay with her mother. Part of the reason was because she's with her grandfather, and her grandfather is old enough that I can't see that chances are not good that he's going to live to get her out of high school, and that really concerns me. But fortunately, there's a big support group there, but that little girl was so bonded to him, there was no other place she could possibly go when mother failed to get herself cleaned up and sober and all of that. So it was a very interesting situation for me to see people in a whole different light from what I had seen at the county attorney's office. And then shortly after I got into the CASA case, there was an opening for someone to represent kids in the dependent neglect cases. So I decided to come out of retirement and do that. So I've been doing that for about a year and a half now. And that's a whole different ball game too, because now I get to know the kids pretty darn well, and at least get to know their situations, and I always try to meet them and find out what I can about them. And so I've become really emotionally attached to some of these kids. They're just wonderful kids. And as an aside, I also have 2 adopted children who came out of the system. So I know about foster parents, and it was 25 years ago, so things have changed dramatically. But so I kind of have seen the situation from that side also. So I just decided when this opening came up, kids really kind of get a raw deal, and I just decided somebody needed to get in there and pitch for them. So I decided I'd have a crack at it, and it's good. It's pretty gut-wrenching. This is the most gut-wrenching of the jobs that I've done, as far as feeling so concerned about these kids and how their lives are going to go, and whether they're ever going to get things back together. So thank heavens for this CASA program. I am so impressed with the people that have worked as CASAs in all the cases that I've had, and the caring and the concern and the interest and the work that goes into these cases. It's really impressive to watch. So I appreciate it, and I'm sure that the kids appreciate it, though they don't know that they appreciate it, but they certainly do and certainly will. So that's kind of where I come from in all of this. I think Tara came a couple weeks ago and talked to you about the law and all of that stuff associated with how the cases work and all of that. There's been a real big change in the law on October 1st as far as attorneys go. And it won't make much difference to you folks probably, but until October 1st of 2011, the judge had to appoint an attorney for every child who was the subject of a DN petition. That isn't the case anymore. It has changed, and I actually brought the statute along. Just, I don't know if you have the statutes, but I thought you might want to take a look at that.
Is that the current one?
This is the current one.
Yeah.
This is the new one. So what it now provides, it's the statute at the bottom of the front page, 41-3-425. Did she staple yours wrong?
No, she already gave it to us.
Oh, okay.
She gave it to me.
Thanks, Carolyn. Just the first one.
You looked puzzled, so.
Well, it was the same thing she already handed me, so.
Okay. So at the bottom of the page, it still says, except as provided, the court shall immediately appoint counsel for, and then it indicates that the parent, guardian, or the person having custody of the child, they automatically get an attorney. If they can't afford an attorney, they get a court-appointed attorney. And
Actually, I think
I'd say 90% of the cases that we have, parents end up with court-appointed
I'm gonna
attorneys.
open the door just for, because it's really warm, so if somebody gets cold, just holler. Is that all right? Is
Sure.
anybody else?
Okay.
It's warm in here. Yeah, okay.
And then B, on the second page I gave you, at the top of the page, the court shall appoint an attorney for any child or youth involved in a proceeding under a petition filed pursuant to 41-3-422 when a guardian ad litem is not appointed. So if there's a situation in which a CASA is not appointed, which doesn't happen here, there's always a CASA appointed here, but then the court shall appoint an attorney, so that there is either a CASA or an attorney.
Is there sometimes both? Because I thought
Usually.
earlier. Oh, okay, I was gonna say, because
Yes.
I thought earlier when we first started, he was saying there was an attorney.
So
Yes.
one of our best, things would be is to work closely with the attorney then.
Is there a cat in here?
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as the door opens, there's a cat in there.
Oh,
Bernie.
It's
harmless. Cat has a collar, it must have a
Yeah,
home.
she lives here.
Oh, she lives here, okay.
Linda, do you want to repeat that?
So would one of our best things as an advocate be is to work real close with the attorney?
Yes, and I'll talk to you more about that. It's probably more an advantage for the attorney than it is for the CASA, but I'll talk about that a little bit. So the difference there is the court does not have to appoint an attorney if there is a CASA. There's always a CASA here in Lewis and Clark County, just, yes.
With the guardian ad litem statute, I thought that was across the board, that there had to be a guardian ad litem appointed in every DN proceeding.
That's what the guardian ad litem statute says. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then in part 3B, it says when appropriate, the court may appoint an attorney for any child or youth involved in a proceeding when a guardian ad litem is appointed. So the judge doesn't have to appoint an attorney, but he or she can appoint an attorney now. I don't think in Lewis and Clark County it's going to make a whole lot of difference. In some of the other counties, it may make a big difference. I think some of the judges probably will not appoint attorneys. And I think I have some mixed feelings about that. Because I, as an attorney, have been kind of questioning my usefulness in cases with a 3-month-old baby. What can I do to advocate for that 3-month-old baby? Because unlike you, your job is to determine what is in the child's best interests. My job is to convey to the court what the child would like to have happen in their life. And it's kind of difficult with somebody who can't talk. The definition from the American Bar Association says the term child's attorney means a lawyer who provides legal services for a child and who owes the same duty of undivided loyalty, confidentiality, and competent representation to the child as is due an adult client. I don't know if any of you are attorneys or if you've worked with attorneys, but when you take on a client, your job is to represent their interest, and sometimes it's stupid, and sometimes you're in arguing something that is just ridiculous. But that's why the attorney hired you, to put forth what they want to see happen. And obviously attorneys will try to talk their clients out of some ridiculous position, but sometimes you don't. And you're stuck with representing your client and putting forth what they want and what they're asking you to do for them. So it's kind of difficult when you have a little child to know what they want. And I was talking to, there's a hearing tomorrow concerning a 2-month-old baby, and I'm the attorney for the 2-month-old baby. And I'm trying to figure out, what does he want?
So how do you figure that out?
Well, he's pretty well bonded to the foster mother, so I would have to say if he were talking to the court, he'd probably say, I want to stay where I am. If he were 6, he probably wouldn't say that. So it's a pretty difficult situation to try to figure that out. And trying to look ahead for this little child when he's 3, is he going to say, why didn't they put me back with my parents when I was 2 months old? That's who I want to be with. So it's kind of a difficult situation, and I'm really not sure that having an attorney in those cases is really necessary. And I don't know what's going to happen across the state as far as those sorts of cases go. And one of the difficulties with that is trying to figure out, is a 5-year-old able to make that decision? Is a 4-year-old? Is a 9-year-old? You really have to look at an individual client in an individual case and see if in fact the child has enough information, if somebody is pressuring the child. Sometimes one of the parents will pressure the child to come in and say, you know, I hate dad and I want to be with mom. Trying to sort that kind of thing out. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I get paid, and I get paid by the state as part, and it comes out of the public defender's budget, who also typically pays the attorneys for the parents. And so I can see some judges and other people saying, yeah, let's not pay any more attorneys. We can just have the guardian ad litem or the CASA cover the situation here. I don't know. What do you think about that, Bill?
Well, it's nice to have you in the cases, and I just wonder about getting our case on, or the best interest case as presented by the CASA. If we say are in opposition to the department's position in the case, then I expect that Tara's not going to be calling us. And I guess that leaves the parents' attorney. And I'm not sure that we're going to always wholeheartedly be firmly aligned with the parents, even though we're not aligned with the department either. And so it creates, I think, a difficulty in being able to present our view of the best interest. Unless, I guess the judge can do the examination, but I don't know, you help me out there.
I don't know. I think there's still some value in having an attorney in these cases, even when the child is not competent, shall we say, to express an opinion or come to court. There, in the CASA statute, you may have noticed talking about it that there is a subsection in the CASA statute that says something to the effect of if the guardian ad litem is an attorney, they can file motions and that kind of thing. And I think there is some value in having an attorney in some of these cases who can file motions. I haven't done it much. I've filed with the court in one particularly nasty case to require the parents to have a mediation, and that was with a 14-year-old girl, I think she was, and that worked out really well. And it was good that there was somebody else in the case who could force something like that to happen. And recently I filed a motion in a case to have an expedited hearing because we had filed a petition to terminate. These kids have been in foster care for almost 2 years, and the termination hearing got set for January, and I was just fit to be tied when I saw that. So I filed a motion to ask for an expedited hearing, which I haven't gotten a new date yet, so it may end up on December 25th, for all I know. Go ahead.
Well, my question was, does it change our function between CASA or guardian ad litem if there is no attorney?
That's a good question.
Because it said, it says that when a guardian ad litem is not appointed, or is appointed, I guess it says. So does that, if there's no attorney, does that mean then we've been...
Well, you can't act as an attorney.
No, does that mean then we're considered a guardian ad litem rather than a CASA?
Oh, that's the same thing.
Exactly the same?
Here it is,
Okay.
yes. I think in some counties, and maybe Bill knows this, they appoint guardian ad litems that aren't CASAs.
Right, right. Yeah, I know in Billings they have attorney guardian ad litems, and the CASA is pretty much the lay person that goes out, gets the information, but the powers of guardian ad litem are vested in those attorneys, not in the CASA.
And you guys are better trained than most of the just guardian ad litems that aren't CASAs, because they don't have any training requirement, whereas you folks certainly do get pretty well trained to get into this kind of work.
So in the court's eye, they're the same, the CASA and the...
Here.
Yes,
And a
they
guardian.
serve the same
In
function.
this county.
Yeah.
Carolyn, is there times that if we feel that that there should be an attorney, can we request that?
Excellent question. Yes, and that's what the statute says here. When appropriate, the court may appoint counsel. That's in 3B. So you can, it may not happen, but you can ask the court to appoint an attorney because for some reason you think it's necessary. And hopefully if you or Bill come before the court and say, hey, there isn't an attorney in this case and we need one, would you please appoint one? I think at least the judges here would do it in a minute.
And are the lawyers, are they the public attorney, public assigned lawyers?
Typically.
Okay.
And if it was an attorney for a child, typically I would be appointed, or Helen McCarthy, who is an attorney out of Whitehall, who does some cases here also. She and I are the ones who are sharing the duty of attorney for children right now. So,
Will we be mainly working with kids that are already taken out of the home? We won't be the only kind, right?
Yeah, we're not going to be dealing like with delinquents.
No, I mean like we're families that are through a separation or going through a divorce.
No,
Good.
no.
oh,
Good. Good.
yeah, the courts are always trying to find guardian ad litems to appoint in those cases, and man, nobody wants them. Their horrible Bill's been involved in a few that have gone on since he was about 6 years old.
So is CASA the one source of guardians ad litem in this county? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Though, do the CASAs ever get appointed in the divorce and custody cases? I know you have, but none of the others do they?
Well, actually, we have one that's doing one right now, but it's not under the banner of CASA.
They're just doing it on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not something you wanna do if you, there've been a few attorneys who have asked me if I would do it, and I said, I have enough to do, which I do, so,
Huh.
What do you mean?
No, I
That
just,
sounded like an interest,
I never considered a guardian ad litem in a custody case, and I can imagine how it could be ugly.
Yeah.
But I speak from a certain amount of experience. I've been through one of God's worst divorces myself many years ago. That it's not a bad, would not be necessarily a bad thing to have.
I think it's a very good thing to have
Yeah.
in some of the real contentious situations.
Is there Angel, a program Angel or something that helps with that?
I don't know what,
Like CASA, but Angel,
here?
yeah?
Boy, not that I've ever heard of.
And we're not getting paid to do this.
No.
Because somebody was talking about, it's a custody case, right? And that one of the parents paid Angel something program to come in and fight for them. And I was thinking, no, that's not us.
No, but I think in divorce cases, the guardian ad litem does get paid.
They're supposed to
Typically.
get paid, they rarely
It's
do.
not.
Suggested as a big moneymaker.
$25, there you go.
Well, that's one of the mistakes I made when I was doing it, that I never charged anything, and so the parents just feel like they can just occupy your whole day.
Call you at 3 in the
Yeah.
morning, or call you at 11 o'clock on Sunday night when the kid didn't come home from for visitation, and oh man. So, yeah, it's a pretty tough situation, but from what I have heard from Tara Harris, who came and talked to you at the county attorney's office, her intention is to continue to ask for an attorney in all of these cases. And we'll see how that shakes out, but that is her intention at this point. One of the other things that I think is a good reason to have an attorney is sometimes I, to be blunt, feel like I can kick ass more than you volunteers can.
Yeah.
Because I can file something in court if I need to, if I'm not getting cooperation from some of the parties, and I mean, I really try not to make waves if I can help it, because I need to work closely with the social workers, and the social workers are great. But sometimes there are people that need a push, and I feel like I've had to get kind of snotty at times. And I'm not sure that you folks as volunteers would feel too good about doing that.
So you'll be one of our contacts.
Oh, yes.
Good.
But you could get snide, but we still wouldn't have any legal persuasion's ability. Like you would have, right?
Right.
And I think it's a good point that they know too that like she doesn't get to meet the parents or talk to the parents, I should say. I mean, you know, like
Right.
Carolyn and I had a case together, but she can go out and meet the children and
Oh, so you can't meet the parents?
Wow.
Right, that was another thing I wanted to bring up. As I said to Linda, you're probably more useful to me than I am to you, because you do have the ability to talk to the parents. I can't talk to any party who has an attorney unless I get permission from the attorney to talk to their client. So I really have to depend on the CASAs to get together with the parents and talk to them and get a feel for what they're doing. Sometimes I will just get in touch with the attorney for one of the parents and ask them, do you mind if I go to a visit where your client is meeting with the child, because I want to see the interaction? And normally that would be a situation I couldn't get into because the parent's attorney's not there. But they'll often let me do that if especially if their clients are doing really well. They want me to see them doing well. So they'll give me permission to meet with the parents.
I think that's good because, like you said, with your case, that lady that you met and you liked her, I think that knowing all the packages.
You would have liked her
makes a
too.
difference.
I have a corollary kind of question. If you were barred from talking to anybody that else party to the situation that has an attorney, are there many cases where you have foster parents, particularly those of some duration, that have retained counsel themselves in anticipation of trying to adopt?
Not typically, no.
Okay.
I've never run into a situation with a foster parent having an attorney, because they don't really know if they're going to even get to adopt until
Yeah,
way
yeah,
far
yeah.
down the road usually. And normally the foster parents want to talk to me. I was just on the phone for half an hour before I came here with the foster parent who has the little boy that we have the hearing with tomorrow. And I think you'll find as you go through being a CASA, the least, I don't want to say appreciated, but the people who have the hardest time in these cases are the foster parents. Man, it is such a hard job. This mother that I talked to today, foster mother, she was on her way to a visit. The department is trying to have as much visitation as they can with the parents because this baby's only 2 months old, so they have 3 3-hour visits a week, which is really a lot in one of these cases. So the foster mother's on the road constantly getting this baby to and from visits. So it's a lot to ask of somebody besides trying to raise a newborn, but she said, I just have a lot of questions about this whole process. Can you answer some of them for me? I said, sure, go ahead. So she, they don't understand the process. They don't understand why everything takes so long. And she said, could you call me after court tomorrow and tell me what happens? It's just foster parents kind of are the last people that anybody talks to because they're kind of there and stable and they're doing what they're doing and they're covering all the bases and they're not the fire that needs to be put out right now like so many of the other things are that the social workers have to deal with. So
So the foster parents can't go to this court hearing?
she can, yes, the foster
She could if
parents
she
can
wanted
go.
to.
She wants to not have the biological parents know who she is. She wants to remain confidential.
So when she takes the baby to visit, she must not be doing the supervision.
She's not doing the supervision, that's correct. She drops the baby off at a neutral spot and there's a woman from the health department doing one visit and there's a supervisor doing another visit and somebody else is doing yet another visit. So
Oh, I thought if you were a foster parent that they automatically knew when you were. That's good that they don't.
usually, well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It depends on the situation. And an awful lot of the foster parents or the placements are relatives, so then the parents obviously know who and what and where and all of that. But there are some situations that you want to keep it confidential.
Well, that could be hard in this town. I mean, just running into somebody out pushing a kid in a stroller.
Yeah, oh, my kid, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I mean,
For real? Oh, wow.
Maybe if you stay out of Walmart.
Walmart. I was just thinking the same thing. Everybody runs into each other at Walmart.
That'd be awful, wouldn't it? If the parents started freaking out right away.
Well, where do, the foster parents, where do they all come from? I mean, I don't
There's gonna
hear
be a
that
lot
much.
out there.
I mean, yeah, I don't
No,
hear that
no,
much
no.
recruiting. Like, you were a foster parent, and, I mean, I don't hear that much recruitment or.
I know it. And there was a time a month ago that they had to take a baby out to south of Boulder.
Cardinal.
card, is that, because they had no foster home available. But for the most part, the foster parents are fabulous. That's something else I've learned doing this particular job, is how wonderful the foster parents are. And the mother I talked to today, she's had any number of babies, and she just likes doing it.
What would you do, like, just now, if you did run into them at Walmart, and they were supposed to know where you were?
Well, I guess you'd just say hi and, yeah,
But don't.
I have your baby.
It's a typical baby, you probably have it covered up and, you know. Yeah, I'm serious.
But I mean, if you have a 3-year-old sitting
Yeah,
in
There's a lot like that.
Unless they have different color hair. They're different color hair, well, boom, that's it. Right.
Would it be up to us to say anything else to them negative?
No, I'd say as little as possible. If they pull a gun, call the cops.
Oh.
I would just say, I don't think I'm supposed to talk to you and leave.
They don't make a fuss. That would rarely happen, really. You know, I've spent the last 30 years in my career working with all kinds of, criminals and all these people that I keep thinking, boy, if I run into one of them, I'm going to be in big trouble. Not true. Hi, Carolyn, how are you? Nice to see you. I was at the fair one time when my kids were maybe 6 and 5, and I had just had a hearing that morning to let this sex offender, he bailed out, and we had a court hearing. Standing in line buying tickets, and he says, "Hey, Carolyn, nice to see you. Thanks for letting me out of jail this morning." Oh my God.